So I now have a finished folder in my documents folder. I have an audio file, a transcript, and a video file. Even though podcasts traditionally are audio only, I prefer using the video because it gives me the ability to add or remove elements as I so choose. Audio only somewhat restricts me. What I'm going to do for the purposes of this video is show you how I use WeVideo to edit. So I have a free WeVideo account through LIU, and I just signed up with my Gmail account. I'm going to create a new movie. So WeVideo gives me a sort of a media bin, project bin, a preview window, and a timeline. This is where we're going to put everything. They also give me access to certain things along the left-hand side, like backgrounds, audio, transitions. I like to start with a background of black, and I click and hold, and I drag it down to video 1. Now, this concept, this process, whether you're using Premiere, WeVideo, iMovie, it's all the same process. You're always gonna have a project bin, a preview window, and a timeline, and you're putting this stuff down. I'm using WeVideo just because if you don't have access to anything, WeVideo is a free web-based video editing platform. It has a little zoom tool here. I can zoom in and out on my timeline so I can be more accurate. I like to bring my black just down to 2 seconds. And if you notice there's other numbers after the 2, those are frames. There's 24 frames in a second. So I bring it right to 2. That way my final product will just have a couple of seconds to load. You will have a WeVideo watermark on your video because it's a free use platform. We're not paying a subscription for it. But for the purposes of this class and this exercise, that's probably fine. Then I go to my project bin and I'm going to import, and I'm going to browse and find that video file I just created. So I know that it's in my documents folder, and I know that I have a Zoom folder in there, and this is my most recent one. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to find my video file, and I'm going to open it. So now this is the video file I just created. In progress, it will now record it, and when I'm done, and I can preview it. Then you'll notice low resolution for faster preview. It's not a big deal. You want to add this to your timeline. I can just drop the whole thing down in here. And this is my playhead. I can then use my playhead to go through and find the different spots that I want to stop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump ahead to when my guest arrives. And I see that my guest has arrived in the Zoom. What I could do is, it's not the perfect place to start, but what I can do is I can click on that clip and I have my playhead right here. I can cut them into 2 different sections. I'm going to click on this first section, which I know is really bad. I'm just going to delete it because I know that that's all that startup stuff. Then I can kind of adjust this, click and hold and move it around. I can then figure out, okay, I know that I got to wait until, and I can listen to it. And as it plays, you can wait till you have the introduction. And I have me, the guest. Go through all that basic stuff so you know it's good, and you find the spot where you begin the actual episode. So we find the spot right here. I'm going to split it again. I'm going to delete this because this is the spot where we say, welcome to the EDD 12.5 podcast. And we know that that's the beginning of it. I'm going to tweak my zoom so I see the whole timeline because now I've edited out a lot of the garbage. I'm going to take this. I'm going to drag it all the way down here. I'm going to kind of come back in, adjust my zoom. I'm going to go way to the end. Make sure that I know where I finished, which I know is going to be not quite at the end. It's going to be a little bit before. So let's say I know that that's right there. I can always take this and I can drag it down. I'm going to also toss a little bit of black at the end for 2 seconds, just that way it doesn't do a hard stop right at my face. So that way it kind of has a nice finish. I can also take a transition, and instead of going from the end of my episode straight to black, I can do something like a crossfade and fade to black at the end. Makes it a little bit cleaner. Now the reason why you're going to want to do this editing is because it helps to clean it up, helps to make it look a little bit nicer. You can add a transition to the beginning, so when the audience watches it, it's a second of black, and then it fades in. What you can also do, the benefit of this, is you can add things like titles. So I can come over to text. There's a whole lot of different types of titles, captions, a lot of things you can choose from. I'm going to grab this one just to demonstrate. So I put this one down, it gives me that box. What I can do with this is double click on it, and I can change it to, the guest name and guest title. I can also resize this text box. I can adjust it, figure out how I like it, move it around, and maybe I put it over here, something like that. I could press done. Now, one of the nice things about a platform like WeVideo is that you say, well, I want another one of those underneath my name. Well, I can't do that the way I am here because I only have this one track. I can add a track, and I can add a video or text track above it. Now I have another one. So I can literally take the same one, I can drag this down, double click on it, do host name, host title. Then I just take this and I slide this over, drop it down so it's the same size, bring this over like that, and I can slide it wherever I want it, press done. Now, when I watch this, say, welcome, I have text under both. I have titles under both, which you could also do, and the benefit of doing the audio, and you can extend this out as long as you want. The benefit of doing the video portion too is if you have charts, if you have graphs, if you have things like that, you could, let's say, take an image, and I could take another image, and I could drop an image over. So I could basically transition between, and I could shorten these. So I could transition between video of me and my host, with a title, without a title. I could switch so that way the image comes over the screen. Now you'll notice that this image is not covering the whole screen because it's a portrait image, not a landscaped image. So you can always double click on it and you could scale it and it could cover the whole screen. Say done. Now this one is tough to use because it has a little crown. That means you're going to pay for it. But in essence, if you were to have your own image, your own chart, your own graph, you can import that into here and the same premise. You can put that over and basically be cutting between visuals, graphics, as well as on-camera stuff. If you wanted it to just be a solid graphic all the way through, you could do that as well. You can import anything that you may have had created. I have in my downloads folder just a quick podcast logo I made for this. I used Canva. Canva is a graphic design program you can use. It also has video capabilities. And I just take that and I can drop that down here into video too. Now, wherever that shows up, I can hear my voice talking, but this is covering it. So if you felt like doing something like this over all of it, or you could have it only a portion of it, and what would happen would be you would see hosts, then you would see, and then when you're done and you finish sort of your episode and all your talking, and you can kind of cut back and forth between those. So you have different options and different levels of flexibility, which is really nice with WeVideo. Again, iMovie, Adobe, Canva, any video editing platform works essentially the same way, where you have different tracks. Video 1 track is your primary track. Text 1 would be where one title would go. You can add tracks if you want to add a second level of titles and overlap. You can cut between titles and visuals only. You can overlay background so you just see this logo and hear the voice. So it gives you lots of flexibility. And then it ends. Now, if you wanted to, you could also get super fancy and add audio. You would take audio and bring it down to the audio track. Now, you have to be careful with audio because it's super loud. So what you'd want to do is come over and go to show audio levels. So we can click on that little blue section. What that does is it leaves a marker so I can actually drop this down. So it'll fade in. You could always drop this lower if you felt like it. You may want it to end just right here. So you click again. And maybe you want to cut this audio totally so you could split the track. And then let's fade it out to 0. So that'll fade out to 0. Then what I can do is I can come way down to the end. Same thing, I'm going to click here, set a marker. I'm going to set a marker there. I'm going to drop that to 0. And maybe I want the audio to basically come in right here. So I'm going to split it, break that up. Same thing, one more marker. And then I just take this, drop it down. So now I have music fading in, going for a second, and then fading out. And you'll notice the music continues past the end. So I want to make sure that I come right to the end of my project and I split that clip finally and delete that last bit. Otherwise, the final piece will go till the end of the media on it. So now when I look at this, I have audio, voiceover, video of me and my guests, some titles, and some graphics. So now I'm going to export it. I will call this LIU 1205 demo. Standard definition is what I get for WeVideo with the free edition. You get these for the paid editions, but standard definition for this purposes is fine. I don't connect to driver YouTube right away. What I like to do is export it and download it to my desktop so I have a finished product that I can then do whatever I want with later. So it's going to take a little while to process, so just wait for that. Once it processes, you can press download. So we'll cover that in just a second when it finishes, and then you can get it on YouTube and share it.